Come in, Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now broadcasting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles, with the president of the California Tax Limitation Committee, Mike Alexander, and America's funniest reporter, Carl Kozlowski.
All right. All you advocates of big government, school principals, bond hustlers everywhere, I'm back. It's Sunday night. I'm Mike Alexander. This is Radio Free Los Angeles coming to you from radio station KRLA 870, broadcasting from Glendale. Have with me tonight Carl Kozlowski and Jonathan Wilson, as usual. How you guys doing?
Doing well. Good
ready
to be back.
Ready for a good show?
Yeah.
Sure am.
Hey, those of you who are out there and got my teaser, we thought we were going to 90 minutes tonight. We had a little bit of a scheduling confusion for which I will take complete responsibility. We're here at the top, unlike that sheriff down there in Broward County. I will take responsibility for what happened. So we'll only be going 1 hour tonight, but we're going to do an election update, big government update in the local bond business. And then in the second half of our program, we're going to have on Robert Michael, who is a self-taught expert in the area of bonds. He's got a lot to talk about. In fact, you may want to check out his website at bigbadbonds.com. I can't wait to have him on. He's going to talk to us about a number of issues related to bonds. And if you think that that is boring stuff, well, that's exactly what the bond hustlers hope, because you owe it. You're going to pay it, and whatever you don't pay will be paid by your children and grandchildren, everybody coming up. You know, if you want to talk to us tonight, give us the telephone number here. Carl, have you got it?
It's 866-870-5752, KRLA.
You got it. We'd love to hear from you tonight. We should have some good callers tonight. Love to talk to you. And remember, this is citizen-sponsored radio. We don't have a lot of advertisers yet. A little later in the program, I'm going to ask Jonathan Wilson to talk to you about advertising. But this is citizen-sponsored radio. It's your responsibility to be part of our program here. We want you to go to radiofreelosangeles.net. That's all spelled out, radiofreelosangeles.net. Your contribution will help us to keep this show on the air and keep this very important message to taxpayers and to others who are relying upon government services that are very soon not going to be there at the rate that these clowns are spending our money and wasting our future. And we are doing our level best here to get this word out to everybody, but we can't do it all by ourselves. We're going to need your help. Tonight, I want to start off with a little point of personal privilege. You know, we spend a lot of time here talking about how big government is, and you know how big government is. And the first duty of government is to keep us safe. At the national level, we expect our armed services and our whole defense establishment to do that. They do a good job. At the local level, we're constantly told that we need to have more, bigger, and supposedly better government to protect us. And let's look what happened in Broward County down there in Florida here this past week, where all those children were killed by this crazy kid Cruz. We had all the government that we could possibly want, everything that the experts were supposed to do. The people were constantly told, leave it to government to do this. If there's an act of violence, let the experts in handling weapons, let them do it. Let the cops do it. Oh, hey, I tell you what, if it's really a tough case, let the FBI do it. But what we saw here this past week was a massive failure of government. But what we also saw was a massive failure of bad judgment on the part of us, the citizens. We have confidence in these people. We give them tremendous amounts of money, but when push comes to shove, They can't and won't do their job. How about that one guy down there in Broward County? In fact, after this clown, we should change the name of Broward County to Coward County. We had one officer down there who was apparently specifically designated as a student safety officer, one of these goofy bureaucratic titles that we give to people. We'll go through a bunch of them in our Government Grifter of the Week award later on. They're always coming up with these stupid names for people and pay them tremendous amounts of money. Bottom line, this guy was given a gun and presumably some level of training, so if there was an armed threat to students on campus, he would deal with it. Well, when the time came, he didn't. But he wasn't the only guy. There were 2 or 3 other guys from the sheriff's office or some other agency there that showed up, and they too stayed outside. It was only when a local police department, 3 or 4 guys showed up there, that they actually entered the building. But to no one's great surprise, it was too late, and they finally found this Cruz character down the street. He had escaped with the other students because he was that young. They found him down the street buying a donut or something and took him into custody without incident, finally. Now, there is much to talk about, but the amazing thing is that they decided to have another media, left-wing sponsored event, a little bit of political theater down there, supported, authored, and scripted by CNN, and the subject was that was the Second Amendment is apparently the problem. Your and my ability to arm ourselves was the problem. The existence of gun was the problem. They completely ignored it. And you know something? I think they know exactly what we know, and they wanted to get out there first. The fact is there was a massive failure of government. But I want you to know this. It's not an occasional thing. Government has no real ability to protect you in your homes, by and large. They have no ability to protect you from assault. At best, they come around and take the report later on, and they'll arrest somebody if you can point to them. That's what happens. Crime prevention is a nice concept. It doesn't work. And I don't want any of these crime prevention officers calling in here and annoying me. We know what you get paid for. We know what you're able to do. We know what you can't do. Look at the city of Chicago, totally out of control. We can go through city after city, county after county, state after state in the United States, and we can find a massive failure of government. Now, when I say failure of government, the fact is that they can only do what they can do. I don't really expect these guys to do much more. What I do expect them to do is to stay out of my way, stay out of your way, stay out of everybody's way, the citizens' way, so that we can protect ourselves and take all the measures that we need to deal with it. And make no mistake, when you're talking about public schools, you're talking about mandatory attendance, you're talking about a level of taxation in our society that forces young families to put their kids into these public schools, whether they like it or not. Taxes are taken at gunpoint, and therefore these children are put into the schools at gunpoint, and then left unprotected. It's high time that we take our money, we take our kids, and we put them in schools where we can protect them properly if that's what we want to do. If you're a left-wing nutcase who thinks that your kids should not be in a place where there's a gun, well, you send your kids to wherever you want to send them. None of my business. My children, however, my business. Of course, mine are long since grown. My grandchildren are my business, and your children are your business. You should work together with other parents, with other families, with teachers and administrators that you like to put your kids in a school where you feel that they will be safe. It's that plain and darn simple. Big government, which is nowhere's government bigger than it is at the local level. It spends massive amounts of money. And as those of you know who have been listening to this program for the last month and a half, we have gone on to great pains to explain how how state and local government is far larger than the federal government. The federal government spends about as much as they spend at the federal and state, at the state and local level, but the number of employees is vast, and the amount of human energy that is required to sustain their operation is vast. There's nothing that these people don't get into, and there's nothing that they screw up. I don't know of one single thing they do well except pay themselves. And even now, with the level of pension debt that they have, they can't even keep that thing solvent. There's a great big lesson out there, and it's not necessarily a Second Amendment lesson. It's not a Second Amendment issue. The big issue is government. What can it do? What can it do? And these people are willing to make any promise that they can, but these are promises they can't keep. I don't blame them for not keeping them. I blame you and me and anybody else for believing it, right? Because the whole process, the whole damn thing's nothing but a fraud, a hustle, and a con. Enough of that right now. That's my screed for tonight. I got 1 minute to go. In tonight's session, you guys, by the way, I want to give you our number once again, Carl.
866-870-5752.
Very good. All right.
Call in. We want to hear from you.
Yeah. Love to hear from you. Go to radiofreelosangeles.net. Click that donate button. Give us a little love and call in. We'd love to hear from you tonight.
If you like what you're hearing and would like to support Radio Free Los Angeles and the California Tax Limitation Committee, please call area code 626-792-1772, 626-792-1772, or kindly visit our website, catlc.net, catlc.net. You can also watch Radio Free Los Angeles on Facebook Live at radiofreela.us.
If you'd like to talk with Radio Free Los Angeles, the phone lines are wide open. 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. We're live, local, and here to talk with you. 866-870-KRLA.
All right, Mike Alexander, back with you here.
Al Kozlowski.
All right.
And Jonathan Wilson.
How you guys doing? Good to see you.
Yeah.
All right, now, let's get into a couple of elections we have coming up. The first one that I just became aware of yesterday, not every election is on my radar. There's a number of them going on at any given time. But down in South Pasadena, the South Pasadena Unified School District, and they're another one of these places that claim number one status or great schools in California or some such nonsense. In any event, the SPUSD down there decided that they didn't have enough money, and they're running another parcel tax down there in this very small community. They got maybe 10,000 households, but they're jonesing for some more money. They've got a parcel tax going that they expect to generate $2.3 million a year. It'll probably end up being more than that. And of course, the sales gimmick is always the same. This is going to improve the schools. On the one hand, everybody's talking about how great the schools down there. The real estate people are constantly saying how great the schools are down there, and that's why you pay $1 million for an otherwise very modest home. Not knocking those modest homes, I am mocking the price. This is what they say down there. The South Pasadena Unified School District has about 4,900 students. How many of them actually live in the district is a question. I'm sure that there's a number of them who don't. They try to get a lot of them in there. But they have at least $441 million a year already that's coming in. Yeah. And that's not all the revenues. I think they have other grant and federal and state grants and other cash flows coming in for the local foundations. So this school district down there has about $10,000 a year coming in per student. And for that, they can't keep it going. They've already got existing bonds down there. And just a few years ago, the South Pasadena school district there floated a $98 million bond. $98 million.
Wow.
To keep that going. Now, that bond indebtedness doesn't show up they don't pay it out of that cash flow. That's paid directly by the homeowners, right?
Sure.
In that district. So they got $98 million that have already flowed into them for these various projects, and they're building them out all the time. But that wasn't enough. They had to float another parcel tax. It's always the same gimmick, $2.3 million. So if any of you down in South Pasadena are awake and paying attention down there, the way to vote on that is no. That ballot just got into your mailboxes there. So sort through all your junk mail and look for that one and put a great big fat no and mail it back in, because, they know what I know, and that is the turnout of these special elections is very low. A lot of people are not aware of them. This is a mail-in ballot only. Your only opportunity to vote on this is to use that mail-in ballot. Now, if I'm wrong on this, somebody from South Pasadena can call in to tell me that there's going to be an election day where you'll have a chance to put it in the ballot box, but I don't think so. I think this is your only shot. But you can see the $41 million a year coming in minimum, plus other cash flows, a $98 million recent bond under their belt, and they're going for another $2.3 million a year. Now, if any of you out there believe that they need it, you need help, not them. Right? And if you think that they're done with you, you're nuts too. What your only choice is to go out there and vote against it. It's absolutely outrageous. So we're going to have somebody on here in the second part of our show here who's going to talk to you about bonds and how they work.
Well, and it's also, I just want to throw in that in Pasadena right now, the mayor just announced a call for it's just going to be a 0.75 cent tax to help, raise more money that they can blow over there.
Right.
And it's like, that's how they get you, is the little tiny, that sounds small. 0.75 cent. Okay. And then next thing you know, you have 10 of these and you're talking 7, 10, 12% paid little taxes that all piled up, and everything is vastly more expensive than what the sticker price tells you. That's
right. And that's in the city of Pasadena, not South Pasadena.
Yes.
Those are two different cities. And I understood that, Carl.
Yeah.
I just want to point out to the audience that this was a different city we're talking about, and their pensions are so far underwater over there that they're having to start tax. So this new taxes all the time. They won't cut salaries. They won't cut personnel. They won't cut pensions. And what they do always is to raise taxes. And that 0.75 point increase in the sales tax is extremely regressive. And by that I mean it hits people on fixed incomes and with not very large incomes disproportionately hard. Another 0.75% on dinner at Smitty's or the Arroyo Chop House may not be much to those patrons, but to everybody else, that extra 0.75% is really high, and it also hits those businessmen who sell larger ticket items. So if you're running a dealership, a car dealership, or large consumer, you sell, big. High-priced consumer items, that extra 0.75% is a factor in what you're able to sell, and for that extra $750 or $1,000 on that big-ticket item, somebody may be motivated to go to Monrovia or down to Cerritos Auto Mall. It's a big deal. It's always a big deal. Taxes are never benign, and once again, every time you pay a tax, it takes money out of the private productive sector and transfers it to the most useless people in the world, the public sector, and they're unproductive by definition, and we have to stop giving them our money. That's freedom. It's a direct outgo. Now, talking about it, the next election up here locally, and I know we're heavily oriented right now in the San Gabriel Valley, but the only reason I mention these things to you folks out there is because all these cities are the same. So when I talk about Sierra Madre or Pasadena, San Marino, or the county of Los Angeles or one of these school districts, believe me, it applies in your city. Go check it out. The story won't be any different. Just change from saying something, change it to saying Gabriel or San Mateo. If anybody up there is listening, it's the same fraud, it's the same hustle, it's the same con. Now, speaking of which, out in Sierra Madre, they've got a municipal election coming up in early April. The ballots will be coming out in a week or so, and all of you brave souls out there in Sierra Madre will have a chance to strike a blow for freedom by voting to get rid of the utility users tax out there. Out there, I think it's maybe 6.5% or 7% or something like that on everything that that you use, your telephone, your cell phone, your electricity, your water. Out there, they not only charge you high prices for water, they slap a utility users tax on top of it. Their revenues go up year after year. They get more money, and then they claim that they're broke. They pay, once again, they hire too many of themselves. They pay themselves too much money. They never cut back. They never, ever become more efficient. They just want more money. Out there in Sierra Madre, you need to say no on behalf of all taxpayers. And this is probably as good a time as any for me to distinguish between the average city and any other business. I can already hear you, some of you out there saying, "Hey, Mike, you guys over there on Radio Free Los Angeles talk ad nauseum about how high the pension debt is. So if the pension debt is so high, that is, if these cities are in debt, why does it make sense to take tax revenue away from them? Isn't that contradictory, Mike? Isn't that counterintuitive?" Well, on the surface it is. I've got a couple of responses to that. Number one, that's not how banks behave. You know how banks behave when you don't handle your money right and you're upside down on your balance sheet? They call the loan. You go in there and you tell the banker, "Hey, but if you take this loan away from me, I'm going to lose my ability to manage my business, and I'm going to go out of business." And the bankers will tell you, "I'm sorry, you've already proved that you can't manage your business. You're already upside down. You're not meeting your loan covenants. You're not current on your debts, and we here at the bank do not intend to be your next victim here. So we're going to shut you down. We take money away, and we give money to people who can actually manage it." That's how it works in the marketplace. But because we don't have marketplace conditions in government, we give them more money. We think the solution to that problem is to give them more money when they've already demonstrated beyond all reasonable doubt that they are incapable of managing anything except the enhancement of their own personal balance sheets. That's what you do. The second response to that is equally simple, and that is that the cities fail to use that money for the proper purpose. So it's like a gambler coming to you. I don't know if anybody ever saw that scene in Las Vegas. The grifter goes to the Joe Pesci. He's a compulsive gambler.
Oh, casino, yeah.
And he goes to Joe Pesci and begs money again from him. And I can't repeat the dialogue, but Joe Pesci says, "You schmuck, you took that money and you gambled it, didn't you? You didn't pay your debts. You didn't feed your family. You bet it, didn't you?" The Pesci character does give him some more money, but there's a death threat that goes along with it. Now, we can't do that with cities. But the point of it is that these people come at you and they say, "Look, we have all these debts and all these needs and we don't have enough money." We give them the money, they turn around and they give themselves a raise rather than paying down the pension debt. So they just kick it down the road because paying off debts is just no fun. There's no glory there. There are no votes to be bought. There's no reputation to be made. by paying off your legitimate debts. And, of course, they don't do that because the last thing in the world they want to do is to call attention to that massive debt that they have in each and every one of these cities because they intend that you're going to pay it. So down there in Sierra Madre, and every other time that you get a chance to say no to a tax, say no to it and force them to do it. Because I'm telling you, any of us who have been in business know that we have no ability, just by talking to somebody or even giving them money, we have no ability to manage their business. The only way to improve anybody's business is to make it work for you, the customer, is to withhold money for it. And that's why when you go to a taco stand and you get a substandard product, you don't listen to this guy talk to you about his staffing and why he's got to get $10 for this $1.50 taco. You just go down the street. And when you go down the street, sooner or later, he'll learn how to make a taco that you want to buy. We have no ability to fix his business. Only he can fix that business. And we can't fix government. Only the people who run it are able to fix it. And we help them to fix it by withholding money. It's the way that the marketplace works. And as a matter of fact, and this recent event in Florida should tell us all just how limited government's ability is to even do the basic things. And if they can't do that good a job with basic police protection or fire protection, if they can't deliver that reliably, efficiently, and economically, then why in the world would we turn over any other activity to them? They're just a waste of space, a waste of oxygen. So down in Sierra Madre, those ballots will be coming out here in a couple of weeks. We need to hear from you. Call us, please, here at area code. Hey, somebody's got the number here.
866-870-5752.
All right, good. A team telephone call. I love it. All right. Oh. We'll see you on the other side.
I got to coordinate that.
All right.
Sorry.
Come in, Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now broadcasting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with the president of the California Tax Limitation Committee, Mike Alexander, and America's funniest reporter, Carl Kozlowski.
All right, everybody. Back with you here, Mike Alexander. Give us a call if you
and Jonathan Wilson.
All right.
Give us a call. 866-870-5752. We want to hear from you guys.
We sure do. Hey, we're going to do the government grifter of the week here at the end of the hour. Now, we have our own nominations, but we're always willing to accept nominations off the board here. So,
and if you want to go to our website, we have it on the main page there at catlc.net. We've listed all of the nominations we got this week. So it is quite entertaining.
Yeah, so if you happen to be one of those grifters, call us in because we'd like to know what you do for all of that money. We're just curious here. We're intellectually adventurous here. We're willing to be instructed in the fine points of, shall we say, senior typist and such things. I mean, whatever it is that you do for $120,000 or $30,000 a year, we want to know.
It's a typist for the elderly, or else it means senior typist.
That's right.
Bilingual. Maybe that's why I got paid so much.
Exactly. We'll in just a few minutes, we're going to have a fellow join us who's an expert on bonds. We talk a lot about bond. What is a bond? Well, a bond is the same as a mortgage. A bond is taken out by an entire city or by a district, and tax revenues are pledged to pay for those bonds. You borrow the money now, you build things. The things that you build are collateral for it. It's like, a construction loan or something replaced by a mortgage or deed of trust for some of you. whatever it is, it's something that the people of a city or of a school district or another government district or of the state, it's money that you owe, and that's money that's going to be paid by taxpayers now. Now, that $98 million bond that we talked about there in South Pasadena, it's really not $98 million. That's just $98 million in principal. It's an interest-bearing bond. It's just like your mortgage. It may be a $100,000 mortgage that you take out on your property, or here in California, maybe $1 million mortgage, but over the life of the mortgage, over that 30 years, you're going to pay another $1 million or more in interest. So that $98 million bond, whether it's in South Pasadena or Yucca Valley, it's going to be a big number. Bonds are kind of complicated things in many ways. They're bonds statewide pass at a very high rate because people just don't pay attention to them. They are the ultimate form of public deception. Tens, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars are sold each and every year to investors because they are tax advantaged. That is, these bonds, the interest that are paid to the bondholders or investors in those bonds, they're tax-free. So it's a huge investment industry. Right now, we're going to be bringing on a gentleman who is a very interesting fellow that reached out to me here within the last few months on some local bonds, wanted me to know all about it. Is a guy I'm getting to know better all the time, and he has a very interesting story. I'd like to introduce you to Richard Michael. His website is bigbadbonds.com. Richard, are you there?
Yes, I am, Mike.
Hey, Richard, thank you for agreeing to come on tonight on such a short notice. Give us a little idea about your background and why you got a burr under your saddle about bonds.
Okay. Well, as far as background, I've been in direct sales and IT database development for the past 25 years.
Uh-huh.
So my background is mainly in database or programming and development and so forth.
All right.
But I got my interest, or the burr under the saddle, as you put it, back in 2015 when a local school district in eastern L.A. County, I'm not sure if you, I guess it's okay, Walnut
Oh,
Valley.
sure, yeah.
I got a pamphlet in the mail, a full-color, 4-page brochure that had just announced that they had put a bond measure on the ballot. And at the same time as that came out, there was also something published by a gentleman named Kevin Dayton, who's a analyst for basically government issues related to labor mostly. But he put out a report called For the Kids.
Oh, for the children, huh? Okay. Right.
Well, I mean, the title of it was literally For the Kids.
Right.
Right. And it was a report, 9-part report, huge report that covered all kinds of issues with school bonds specifically.
Yeah, somehow I have a hard time imagining these Wall Street bond brokers as kids, but in any event, we'll go along with the joke, right, Richard?
Right. So after studying this, I called up the local district, and I was put through to the business officer. And, I now had the background from Dayton's report, and I asked the gentleman who I spoke to, well, where is the list of the specific school facilities projects to be funded? And those are the words quoted right out of the California Constitution.
Right.
And his reply was, we don't have to give you one. And that set it off.
Right.
So I defeated that bond single-handedly, and then I decided most people don't know. I mean, I didn't know until a few months early, in mid-summer 2015, anything about school bonds.
Right.
But in the months doing the campaign, I learned a lot, and then I decided most people don't know this, and it's the biggest scam going in the state.
Hey, by the way, Richard, how much was that bond that they were trying to hustle through?
$208 million.
Wow. Okay, and what was what was the vote? What was the turnout? How badly did you beat it? That's a great story right there.
Well, the turnout was about 15%, because this was an off-year election, November 2015.
Oh yeah,
and we beat it by 66 votes.
Wow.
I didn't care how many we beat it by, because I was the only one doing anything.
Right.
So we beat it.
Now, folks, those of you who are out there listening, you heard what I said here just a few minutes ago about local elections and bonds and parcel taxes. This is how they operate. By establishing an election that they're very skillful at manipulating, very skillful at forecasting. They know that people don't turn out. And so these bonds, imagine $208 million, and it was just because of Richard Lone Ranger Michael out there in Walnut. He managed to beat it back because he woke up and came out from under the ether and managed to rally people at the last minute. There is no general consensus for this level of government spending, but the fact that we don't show up and we don't vote permits them to claim that these votes are legitimate, that that their level of spending and activity is authorized. It's not. Sorry for the interruption. So that got you going. What was the next step for you, Richard?
Well, just let me add, because this is very short.
Yeah.
They spent $119,000 to win this. I spent zero. So just to give you the size of what was going. Well, zero meaning I've had to print some things on my printer, but besides the cost of the paper and the ink or the toner, that was it.
Yes.
So
they won't make that mistake the next time, will they?
Well, they spent a lot more the next time.
Did they finally pass it?
Well, yeah, that's a different story, because I couldn't. I didn't want to be the Lone Ranger again.
Exactly.
So when nobody stepped in to help out, I just decided I'll do the minimal. I did the ballot arguments and so forth, but I didn't do anything further than that.
Correct.
So, but they only got $152 million that time. So, between the two bonds, they saved the taxpayers probably close to $600 million.
Huzzah!
Wow.
Yeah, that is a great story on its own. Now, this is not the last time we're going to have you on, Richard, because these are great stories of citizen activism, and they illustrate everything that we're talking about. That's why we're on the air. So you took the next step. You didn't limit your activities to the Walnut Valley. You broadened your perspective, and you set up a website, bigbadbonds.com. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I set it up on Pearl Harbor Day 2015, and I picked that day specifically because I waited to get. I just wanted to have a little bit of significance there. So,
yes.
So I basically extended it to the state of California because what I found out during the election process was that there's organized what I call a cartel, a school bonds cartel, that basically pushes school bonds around the state in every little nook and cranny of the state, no matter if it's a 50-person student school district or whether it's hundreds of thousands of students like LA Unified.
Right, it's a business.
They push the bonds. Yeah, they're in business to sell bonds.
Right,
and they're all linked together. In fact, tomorrow, the main proponent of this cartel, which is called the Coalition for Adequate School Housing, CASH, they're having their conference. Yeah, they're having their conference in their 39th conference in Sacramento, starting tomorrow.
Right.
So for 3 days, the school officials and school employees will be taking a junket to Sacramento to learn how to get these bonds passed in their local districts.
Right.
And they'll meet the people that sell the bonds, so they'll establish personal relationships with them, and then, it's all smooth sailing from there.
It is.
Schools want the money, and these people can print the money.
Hey, we need to have our reporter on the site. That's what's going to. And this is go ahead.
In Sacramento, you said that event, that junket.
Yes.
Yes.
It's 3 days.
Okay. Monday,
Tuesday, and Wednesday. It starts tomorrow. In other words, unlike most professional events which use weekends, they're using work days. So all the people that are going there that are from school districts are getting paid by the districts to be there, plus paying the fee for the conference, and this is all paid by taxpayer money.
That's right. Okay, now, Richard, stay with us. We're going to come back on the other, after a short break here, and this is just to remind you, each and every public employee is a paid partisan political activist. They are there to grow government.
If you like what you're hearing and would like to support Radio Free Los Angeles and the California Tax Limitation Committee, please call area code 626-792-1772, 626-792-1772, or kindly visit our website, catlc.net, catlc.net. You can also watch Radio Free Los Angeles on Facebook Live at radiofreela.us.
If you'd like to talk with Radio Free Los Angeles, the phone lines are wide open. 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. We're live, local, and here to talk with you. 866-870-KRLA.
All right. Back with you here, Mike Alexander. Give us a call. You got to have some questions for this patriot here, Richard Michael. Call us at 866-870-5752. Go to our website if you like what you're hearing. Give us a little love. Make a little donation. Keep this thing going.
RadioFreeLosAngeles.net.
You got it. You go right there and let us know your thoughts. Let us know your ideas. All right, Richard. So you decided to go statewide. You've sponsored this thing called Cash. Excuse me, not sponsored. You identified this thing called Cash. And so they're having basically a trade show up there in Sacramento. All expenses paid by you and me, the taxpayer, by all of us in our listening base there. You've done quite a bit. So, what are you working on this on lately? You said that you had something in particular you wanted to talk about with the Los Angeles Unified so-called School District.
Oh yeah, this was an interesting issue with LA Unified, and I basically earlier this month, February 6th, I think it was, the LA Unified had to come begging to the Board of Supervisors, County Board of Supervisors, asking them to issue $1.4 billion of bonds.
Wow.
That had been approved by voters in 2008. All right, and they had to go to the Board of Supervisors because, under the law, because they are in such financial bad shape, they could not issue them themselves. In other words, the Board of Trustees, their governing board, could not issue them, so they needed the supervisors to issue them in their place. So I had written a letter basically to the supervisors pointing out the fact that this is a chance to hold LA Unified accountable, and because they had not done the oversight that was required by these bonds, they had not. They're spending the money on illegal things like salaries.
Right.
And of course, the supervisors never responded to the letter, and they issued the bond, or they authorized the issuance of the bonds.
Right.
So it's just an example. LA Unified is a huge district, obviously, the biggest in the state, and they needed help here, and the Board of Supervisors came in and backed them up, but that still hasn't stopped the illegal spending that is going on in the district. And I'll just give you two little examples.
Please.
This was a $7 billion bond in 2008. And then when I did the research on this to do the letter, I found that they had issued part of the bond measure talked about $50 million for school buses. Now, school buses are not for school facilities. They're operating expenses. But it was put on the bond, and they are spending money, literally spending that $50 million on school buses, despite the fact that the Proposition 39 only allows construction, reconstruction, renovation, and rehabilitation of facilities.
Right.
So these are not facilities. The other thing that struck me was a $40 million allocation out of this $7 billion bond to fund the Office of Inspector General to investigate misspending of the funds. And this to me was just beyond belief.
Right.
Because here you have the Officer of Inspector General being paid salaries, or the whole department being funded by bond money, which is illegal under again the California Constitution, where it says, and not for any other purpose, including administrators, teachers and administrators' salary or other school operating expenses.
Yes.
So it's just blatantly illegal. But if no one steps up in LA Unified, they'll get away with it because they do what they will do until somebody stops them, because they're, in my view, they're all criminals. But
correct. Yeah. No. These people are scofflaws. They do things all the time that don't comply with the Constitution, don't comply even with their own internal rules and regulations. But there's nobody out there looking at them, and that's what our job is here at the California Tax Limitation Committee, and it is the responsibility of each and every citizen to step up to the plate and to work with us in starting and continuing this taxpayer revolt here in California. It's ripe. Now, Richard, we need to it's been wonderful having you on. I'm going to call you here tomorrow because I'd like to discuss maybe a continuation of your insights and your recommendations and so forth, to have you on maybe next week or sometime soon. We'd love to hear more from you. We want to congratulate and thank you for the yeoman's work that you've done in this area and helping to open all of our eyes to what's going on out there in a new area of emphasis for us here at our organization. We look forward to working with you. Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you, Richard. We've had on tonight Richard Michael. Please check him out at bigbadbonds.com. He's got a wonderful website. We're moving on now to our government grifter of the week there, and we'll see if there he is.
Now, this week's Government Grifter Awards, your favorite time of the week, live from the studios here in Glendale, California.
All right, what do we got this week, you guys?
The first nominee, we had a lot of nominations, and these all come from the L.A. County.
All right, so. And Marcy Guzman, thanks for putting together this roster here. Yeah. There's lots of raw material.
And if you'd like to follow along, we've posted all the nominees on our main page at catlc.net. So it's some pretty good reading. It's shocking. But all right, so the first nominee is the laundry coordinator.
What? Wow.
The laundry coordinator. I could use one of those.
Right.
How much are they making?
$111,000 a year. Total
$111,608.
That's right, yeah.
But, I could use one of those because tonight I'm not even wearing matching socks.
It's true.
Who let me in here?
He really doesn't have matching socks on.
I know, really?
Yeah.
Red and yellow. Yes.
That's why we're on radio, Kozlowski. All right.
Yeah, I hope they're
Jeez.
All right. And the second nominee is the plumber. Do you have the plumber?
The plumber?
That's right.
Yeah, the plumber.
Works for the
If you work for the county, you get $104,819. Talk about flushing your money down the drain, folks.
Uh-oh.
And I'd like to take a crack at that one.
All right.
And the third nominee for this week's Grifter Awards is the Ocean Lifeguard Specialist at $226,000 a year.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a guy who goes around to all the lifeguard stands and just makes sure everybody's oiled up properly. Here, let me put some lotion on your back.
Right.
I think that's what it is. It was a very important job.
226?
$226,465.
And don't forget our honorable mentions are there's a driller for $107,000 and a plasterer for $104,000. So if you've got $211,000 lying around, we've got two guys that could go around making holes and then filling them up for you.
Yeah, it really is amazing. I would encourage you to visit our website and look at the list.
$225,000. That's more than what Pam Anderson got paid her first year. What was the name of that program?
Baywatch.
Oh, Baywatch.
Baywatch. Yeah. That's supposed to be LA County guards, man. I'll tell you what, man. For that kind of money, that specialist better look great.
I think that should be our winner, frankly, because not only is it the best pay, but it's also It seems easily the most pointless of these jobs.
Should we vote on it this week? I go for the ocean lifeguard specialist.
I believe so, too. I think we have a winner, folks.
Hey, I'm speechless. All right.
So this week's winner is the ocean lifeguard specialist. This is ocean lifeguard specialist first nomination and first government grifter award. Congratulations, Baywatch.
You'll be receiving a lifetime supply of SPF 100.
Hey, and by the way, if you're out there, be sure to call in because we want to know what you do for that kind of money. All right. Hey, we've only got a couple of minutes to go, folks. We thank you for coming, listening with us here tonight. We make light of this because these folks should be laughed at, but it's really no joke. And we go through this each and every week. It's a very popular feature because people just don't know. And so when you wonder why we have a $1 trillion pension deficit here throughout the state of California, when you wonder why taxes are going up, despite the fact that revenues are going each and every year, it's because we have these kinds of people. We have librarians in some of our cities making $200,000. I think the LA County librarian
$321,000.
$321. Who gets this kind of money?
Just to put books away and people.
And remember, folks, it's not just that salary. Under the current pension plans, they can earn up to 90% of that salary for the rest of their and our miserable lives. And get that with a 3% cost of living adjustment per year, which is why they end up going. Well, look, we only got a minute to go, so I want to take that minute.
Man, it goes by fast.
It does. I want to thank Sullivan Williams, our engineer extraordinaire, for being with us tonight. Carl Kozlowski,
howdy.
World's funniest reporter, at least in his own opinion, a legend in his own mind. Carl's, are you doing the Academy Awards next week?
Yes, I will be out next week, unfortunately, because I have to host an event.
Hey, good luck on that. We look forward to hearing your report, Jonathan. Thanks. And if you want to advertise with us, give us a call here at this number or go to radiofreelosangeles.net.